Don't think about a white bear right now. Whatever you do, don't picture a white bear in your mind. What just happened? You thought about a white bear. You couldn't help it. Because the moment you try not to think about something, your brain does the opposite. It fixates on exactly what you're trying to avoid. This isn't willpower failure. It's how your mind works. And the harder you fight it, the worse it gets. This is called the ironic process, the phenomenon where mental suppression backfires and amplifies the exact thought you're trying to eliminate. You don't want to think about your ex? Now you can't stop. You're trying not to be anxious? The anxiety intensifies. You want to forget an embarrassing moment. It replays on loop. And every attempt to push it away just makes it come back stronger. Not because you're broken, because suppression itself is the mechanism that creates obsession. Your brain isn't designed to suppress thoughts. It's designed to monitor them, and monitoring requires checking if the thought is present. So when you tell yourself, don't think about this, your brain has to keep checking if you're thinking about it. And every check surfaces the thought. You're not avoiding it. You're reminding yourself of it over and over under the guise of trying to forget. The suppression is the problem. And you can't suppress your way out of it because trying to suppress is what's feeding the cycle. The suppression backfire where your brain's monitoring system sabotages your attempt at control. The rebound effect, where avoided thoughts return stronger and more intrusive. And the control trap where fighting a thought proves you've already lost to it. Subscribe to That Stoic Stick because we don't give you tips to control your mind. We show you why control makes it worse. Let's talk about why trying not to think about something makes you think about it more. 1. The suppression backfire. Your brain has two processes when you try not to think about something. The first is the intentional operating process, the part that actively tries to suppress the thought. The second is the monitoring process, the part that checks to make sure the suppression is working. And here's the problem. The monitoring process has to search for the thought to confirm it's absent. So while one part of your brain is trying to avoid the thought, another part is actively looking for it. And every time it checks, it surfaces the thought. You're not suppressing it. You're repeatedly reminding yourself of it while pretending you're trying to forget. This is the ironic process theory discovered by psychologist Daniel Wegner. He ran experiments where he told people not to think about a white bear. And what happened? They couldn't stop thinking about it. The instruction to suppress became the mechanism that created obsession. Because suppression requires monitoring. And monitoring requires activating the exact mental content you're trying to avoid. Your brain can't check if you're thinking about something without thinking about it. So the harder you try not to think, the more you think. Here's what that looks like in real life. You're trying not to think about your ex. So your brain starts monitoring. Am I thinking about them? No. Good. Wait, am I thinking about them now? No. Still good. What about now? Every check is a reminder. Every confirmation that you're not thinking about them is evidence that you just were. The monitoring process is supposed to help you suppress, but it's actually the thing keeping the thought alive. And the more desperately you try to suppress, the more aggressively your brain monitors, which means the thought surfaces more frequently, not less. The backfire gets worse under cognitive load. When you're stressed, tired, or distracted, the intentional operating process weakens. but the monitoring process keeps running. So now you have a brain that's checking for the unwanted thought, but lacks the resources to suppress it when it's found. The result? The thought breaks through constantly. You're too exhausted to push it away, but your brain won't stop surfacing it. This is why intrusive thoughts get worse at night, when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed. Not because the thoughts are stronger, because your suppression system is weaker while the monitoring system keeps working. Think about insomnia. You're trying not to think about the fact that you can't sleep, but your brain keeps checking. Am I asleep yet? No. Am I asleep now? Still no. Every check wakes you up more. The monitoring process that's supposed to help you fall asleep is the thing keeping you awake. And the harder you try not to think about being awake, the more awake you become. The suppression created the problem it was meant to solve. This is the backfire. Suppression doesn't eliminate thoughts. It amplifies them. And the mechanism that amplifies them is the very mechanism you're using to try to control them. 2. The rebound effect. Suppressed thoughts don't just persist. They come back stronger. This is the rebound effect, the phenomenon where avoiding a thought makes it return with more intensity, frequency, and emotional charge than it had before you tried to suppress it. You didn't just fail to eliminate the thought. You made it worse. And the harder you suppress, the more intense the rebound. Suppression isn't neutral, it's fuel. And what comes back is more intrusive than what you started with. Here's how the rebound works. When you suppress a thought, you're creating psychological tension. The thought wants to surface. Your brain is actively pushing it down. That tension builds. And when suppression fails, and it always fails eventually, the thought doesn't just return. It floods back with all the accumulated energy of the suppression effort. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more violently it explodes to the surface when you let go. And you will let go, because suppression is exhausting. And when you do, the rebound is worse than if you'd never suppressed at all. The rebound also changes the nature of the thought. A normal thought is neutral. It passes through your mind without significance. But a suppressed thought becomes intrusive. It's no longer just a thought. It's a thought you're fighting. And that fight gives it power. It becomes emotionally charged, associated with anxiety, marked as dangerous. So when it returns, it doesn't return as a passing thought. It returns as an intrusion, something your brain flags as a threat, and threats demand attention. So the thought that was originally benign is now psychologically loaded, and your brain won't let it go. Think about this. You have an embarrassing memory. It pops up. You think, I don't want to think about this, and you push it away. What just happened? You marked that memory as something to avoid, something dangerous. So now your brain categorizes it differently. It's not just a memory anymore. It's a threat. And your brain's threat detection system will keep surfacing it to make sure you're aware of the danger. You turned a neutral memory into an intrusive thought by trying to suppress it. The suppression created the problem. This is why people with OCD struggle so intensely. They have intrusive thoughts, often disturbing, unwanted, ego-dystonic thoughts, and their instinct is to suppress them. I shouldn't think this. I need to stop thinking this. But suppression makes intrusive thoughts worse. The monitoring process keeps surfacing the thought. The rebound effect makes it return stronger, and the emotional charge of suppression turns the thought into an obsession. They're stuck in a cycle where the solution, suppression, is the mechanism creating the problem, and the harder they fight, the worse it gets. The rebound effect applies to everything. Dieting, suppressing thoughts of food makes you crave it more intensely. Trying not to be anxious, the suppression amplifies the anxiety. Trying to forget someone, the avoidance ensures you can't. Suppression doesn't work. It backfires. And what comes back is always worse than what you tried to push away. 3. The control trap. Here's the trap. The more you try to control your thoughts, the more evidence you have that you can't. Every failed suppression proves your mind isn't under your command. Every intrusive thought that breaks through is proof that you're losing. And that loss of control creates anxiety, which makes you try harder to control, which creates more failures, which creates more anxiety. You're stuck in a loop where the solution is the problem, and the only way out is to stop trying. But stopping feels impossible, because stopping means surrendering control, and surrendering control feels like annihilation. This is the control trap. You're fighting your own mind, and fighting requires monitoring, and monitoring surfaces the thought. So every act of control reinforces the thing you're trying to control. You can't win, because the fight itself is the mechanism that keeps the thought alive. The harder you try, the more you lose, and the more you lose, the harder you try. It's not a battle you're losing. It's a battle that can't be won because fighting is what sustains the enemy. Think about anxiety. You feel anxious. You think, I need to stop being anxious. So you try to control it. You monitor your anxiety levels. Am I still anxious? Yes. Okay, I need to calm down. Am I calm yet? No. Why am I still anxious? Every check increases the anxiety because you're focused on it. You're treating it as a problem that needs solving, and problems demand attention. So the anxiety intensifies, not because it's getting worse on its own, because you're feeding it with your attempts to control it. The control is the problem. But you can't stop controlling because not controlling feels like giving up. And giving up feels like losing your mind. The same trap applies to intrusive thoughts. You have a disturbing thought. You think, I shouldn't think this. I need to get rid of this thought. So you try to suppress it. And the suppression makes it return. So you try harder. And it returns stronger. And now you're locked in a battle with your own mind, where every attempt to win makes you lose more ground. The thought isn't the problem. Your fight with the thought is the problem. But you can't stop fighting because stopping means accepting the thought. And accepting it feels like endorsing it, like becoming the thing you're afraid of. Here's the disturbing part. You can't choose to stop controlling, because choosing to stop is still control. I'm going to let go of this thought is an act of mental control. You're still trying to manage your mind, still monitoring, still checking if the letting go is working. The control trap doesn't have an exit, because even the decision to stop controlling is a form of control, and your brain knows it. So the thought persists, and you're stuck. The only way out isn't a strategy, it's exhaustion. You fight until you can't fight anymore, until suppression becomes too costly to maintain. And then the thought just exists. Not because you let it go, because you ran out of energy to hold it down. And that's not freedom, that's just collapse. The thought wins not because you surrendered, because you were defeated. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the control trap only ends when you stop trying to end it, but you can't choose that. You just have to break. So that's why trying not to think about something makes you think about it more. The suppression backfire, where your brain's monitoring process keeps surfacing the thought you're trying to avoid. The rebound effect, where suppressed thoughts return stronger, more intrusive, and emotionally charged. And the control trap, where fighting a thought proves you've already lost, because the fight is what keeps it alive. You can't suppress your way to peace. Suppression is the mechanism that creates obsession. Every attempt to push a thought away is a reminder that it exists. Every check to see if it's gone is evidence that it's still there. And every failure to eliminate it proves your mind isn't under your control, which makes you try harder, which makes it worse. You're not losing a battle with your thoughts. You're stuck in a battle that can't be won because the act of fighting is what sustains the enemy. This isn't about willpower. It's not about trying harder or finding the right technique. The problem is the attempt itself. Suppression doesn't work, it backfires. And the backfire is worse than the original thought. You turned a passing thought into an intrusion, a neutral memory into a threat, a fleeting anxiety into an obsession, not because you're weak, because you tried to control something your brain isn't designed to control. Maybe the disturbing truth is that your thoughts aren't yours to manage. They arise, they pass, and trying to control them just traps you in a loop where the solution is the problem. You can't think your way out of thinking. You can't suppress your way to silence. And you can't choose to stop trying because choosing is control. If this resonated, drop a comment and tell me what thought won't leave you alone. And subscribe to That Stoic Stick, because we don't give you control strategies. Can you ever stop fighting your mind? Or is the fight the only thing keeping you convinced you still have control? Maybe the thought isn't the problem. Maybe you are. And maybe realizing that changes nothing.